agency then follows up with, isn't BitMEX funding just based on market sells and buys? In a way. So BitMEX funding is related to how far is the mark price from the index price. So funding serves as a tool to disincentivize the market from taking a large run away from the index price, right? So the index price is, so on BitMEX or on all derivatives, you have last price, which is the last price that orders are getting filled at. You have mark price, which is sort of a derivative of the index price. And the mark price is going to be the price that moves a little bit slower than the last price, but fairly quickly. I mean, obviously it doesn't like lag behind the market, but it just moves a little bit slower so you don't get those wild extremes. And that price is going to be based off of liquidations. So mark price actually has to reach your liquidation level for you to get liquidated, not just last price. So an order can actually get filled at your liquidation price, and you won't get liquidated potentially unless the mark price actually goes down there. And that's to protect traders from market manipulation or somebody dumping the book on a spot exchange and then opening long or conversely on futures. Then you have your index price, which is taking the spot price from multiple exchanges and then combining that to get a smoothed average. Because the idea behind that is, since the mark price is going to be tracking the index price, if you just have, and we've seen this obviously with flash crashes on OKEX, we've seen it with BitMEX, we've seen it with ByBit, we've seen it with Deribit, we've seen all this. Deribit was the most recent one. Now, over time, a lot of these exchanges have dealt with this problem by going to the index method. So again, let's set up in a scenario, an example here. Let's say that we have BitMEX over here, and let's say that BitMEX is not using an index. They're just using the spot price from Coinbase. Well, if you were to go to Coinbase, so let's say you go to BitMEX and you open up a huge short, right? For like 10 million contracts. And then you go to Coinbase and you dump a couple $1 million worth of Bitcoin onto the market. Well, that is going to severely tank the market fairly quickly. So your position over on BitMEX is going to wildly rack up profit, right? You're going to close that out. You're going to buy back your $2 million of the Bitcoin with a portion of your profits. And boom, you've just wiped out the entire order book, manipulated the market to your benefit. Now, the reason why they went to the index system is because it's not easy, but it's not impossible to dump the order book on one exchange. But it is very difficult to do a coordinated attack on multiple order books across multiple exchanges, right? So that is a protection system. And we can see when Deribit flash crashed, it was when Coinbase's order books glitched out, that was a direct, obviously a wake-up call to the Deribit developers that, hey, they're tracking Coinbase's price too closely and their index system isn't fully fleshed out. This was a big reason why a lot of influencers have moved away from Deribit. Whereas BitMEX and ByBit have experienced far less issues with this. Obviously, BitMEX has been around the longest, but ByBit's doing a fantastic job as well. There's a reason why I trade over on ByBit, and I do not trade the perpetuals over on BitMEX anymore. Let's see here. Great question. Actually, sorry. So to correlate, so to go back to answer your question, funding is there to, let's say that how, you might ask, does BitMEX keep the mark price close to the index price? Well, they do it with funding, right? Because if let's say that everybody wanted to take the market long and on BitMEX and not necessarily over on Coinbase, right? They just wanted to, everybody on BitMEX wanted to just market buy. But over on Coinbase, price was just staying relatively level or not rising that dramatically whatsoever. Well, that would be a problem, right? Because now there's divergence in price and that opens up arbitrage opportunities. So what you would do, or what BitMEX has done, what all the derivatives have done, is that they've initiated funding, which means that now funding is just for perpetual contracts. It's not for contract expiration, because when a contract expires, it's going to settle against the index price, or a TEMA, which is a triple exponential moving average, weighted average of the index price. It's complicated. You can read it in the index. Hopefully, I can explain it succinctly. So what they've done is they've instituted this funding where when funding is positive, longs are going to pay shorts, and when funding is negative, shorts pay longs, right? And what that does is it disincentivizes people from just market buying longs. And every 8 hours, they're going to get hit with that funding. And this incentivizes orders to be closing out, right? And that helps so far it's worked, keep the mark price relatively close to the index price so we don't have these wild fluctuations over on the derivatives exchanges that do not correlate to price fluctuations over on the spot exchanges. Obviously, this opens up a unique strategy or edge for individuals who can trade funding. I've talked to individuals who have developed, prior or like entering right before funding or right after funding and vice versa. Individuals will often go into a position just to get the rebate from funding, but often there can be wild fluctuations on the BitMEX funding chart. That's why we've traded the 8-hour chart previously, and we've talked about that strategy and that edge. So it's just a unique thing that exists in Bitcoin derivatives trading that doesn't exist really anywhere else because of the perpetual contract, because the perpetual contract is really kind of a baby, a darling, an invention of Bitcoin derivatives.